in this module, we will be talking about vibrational Raman spectroscopy. We have already discussed rotational Raman spectroscopy. We will talk about the selection rules, the mutual exclusion principle, which is a very important principle in interpreting spectra, polarization of Raman line. Coming to the learning outcomes, after going through this module, you should be able to understand vibrational Raman spectra, understand the variation of the polarizability ellipsoid of a molecule during a vibration of a triatomic molecule, and you should be able to understand and apply the rule of mutual exclusion and understand the polarization of Raman lines. When a beam of monochromatic radiation passes through a liquid or gaseous substance, it might get scattered. Either the frequency of the radiation is unchanged, that is Rayleigh scattering, or the scattered radiation has lower frequency when we call it Stokes lines, or higher frequency when we call them anti-Stokes lines. We have already learnt about this for rotational Raman spectroscopy. And just as for rotational Raman spectroscopy, the important molecular property is the polarizability, which must change during the vibration. The polarizability ellipsoid should either change its shape or it should change its size during a vibration for it to be Raman active, for the vibration to be Raman active. In this module, we study vibrational Raman spectroscopy. Vibrational Raman spectroscopy, now we discuss this, and we have already seen when we were studying infrared spectroscopy that for every vibrational mode one can write GV is equal to omega E into V plus half minus chi E into omega E V plus half whole square, and this V is the vibrational quantum number which can take on values, any integer values 0, 1, 2, and omega is the equilibrium vibrational frequency, which is expressed in reciprocal centimeter inverse, and chi is the anharmonicity constant. The selection rule is also the same, that delta V can be equal to 0 plus minus 1 plus minus 2, which are the same as for Raman and IR spectroscopy. The probability of delta V is equal to plus minus 2 plus minus 3 decreases rapidly, and we will ignore, because we have already seen that Raman is not so accurate. It is based on the difference in energies, and so we will ignore the anharmonicity term. And if you apply the selection rule to equation, what you learn is that for the transition for the fundamental, this is the only important transition that you observe in Raman spectroscopy. V is equal to 0 to V is equal to 1 is the vibrational quantum number, and the wave number of the spectral line is simply given by omega E into 1 minus 2 chi E. We restrict ourselves to fundamental transitions only. We would expect Raman lines to appear at distances from the excited line corresponding to each active fundamental vibration. That is, that the nu bar will be at the exciting line wave number plus or minus nu bar for the transition that we are talking about. The vibrational Raman spectrum of a molecule will then show a series of reasonably intense lines. The minus represents the situation where the molecule has gained energy, which is Stokes lines, and that means that the radiation has lost energy, and the plus indicates when the molecule has lost energy, and these are the anti-Stokes lines. Stokes lines refer to the transition V is equal to 0 to 1, and anti-Stokes lines refer to the transitions V is equal to 1 to 0. And since there are very few molecules initially in the excited state at room temperature, we have already seen that when we were discussing infrared spectroscopy, that most of the molecules are in the ground state, only about less than 1% molecules are in the excited state. You can understand why anti-Stokes lines are much weaker in intensity. So, this diagram, it is an energy level diagram showing the states involved in Raman signal. The line thickness is roughly proportional to the signal strength from the different transitions, and you can see that what are the Rayleigh lines, what are the Stokes lines, and what are the anti-Stokes lines. Then how does the polarizability ellipsoid vary during a vibrational transition? In this section, we try to show pictorially the polarizability ellipsoid as changed by various vibrational modes. Note that the ellipsoids shown here are only 2-dimensional representations, but they are actually 3-dimensional. It is only for ease in explaining that we have drawn them as 2D structures. Consider first the hydrogen molecule. You have already seen it when you were doing rotational Raman spectroscopy. Its polarizability ellipsoid is shown in figure. It is more polarizable along the bond direction, and that is why the polarizability ellipsoid has the minor axis there, the major axis is perpendicular to the bond direction, and because it is less polarizable there, and so the ellipsoid is larger. You will recall that what we plot is not alpha, but 1 by square root of alpha. So, this is the polarizability ellipsoid of the hydrogen molecule. As the bond is stretched, the bond becomes more polarizable. Because the bond becomes weaker, it is easier to distort this bond more, and the polarizability ellipsoid will therefore shrink in size, because again we are plotting 1 by square root of alpha. Now, here what we are observing is a change in size of the polarizability ellipsoid and not the general shape. During compression, it expands in size, and we thus have a means of determining the strengths of bonds of homonuclear molecules, because the polarizability ellipsoid is periodically changing. The rotational selection rules are the same as those for pure Raman rotations, that is delta J is equal to 0 plus minus 2, and we observe the OS pattern here instead of the PR pattern that you observed in infrared spectroscopy. So, you can study both vibrational as well as rotational spectra in Raman spectroscopy. Then we come to polyatomic molecules. They have a larger number of vibrational degrees of freedom as compared to diatomic molecules, and you have already seen that an n atomic molecule has a total of 3n degrees of freedom corresponding to 3 coordinates which are required to describe the position of each atom. 3 of these correspond to translation of the molecule as a whole. Linear molecules have 2 rotational degrees of freedom. There is no rotational degree of freedom along the bond axis, and that means that we have 3n minus 5 degrees of freedom for vibration of linear molecules. Whereas, for non-linear molecules, they have 3 rotational degrees of freedom, and taken together with translational degrees of freedom, there are 6 degrees of freedom accounted for. That means that there are 3n minus 6 vibrational degrees of freedom. We will first consider a linear triatomic molecule such as carbon dioxide, which has 4 vibrational degrees of freedom, 3n minus 5 is equal to 4. 2 of these are degenerate bending modes. The symmetric stretch mode is similar to the stretching mode of a diatomic molecule, and the polarizability ellipsoid varies in size as the molecule vibrates, and this mode of vibration is obviously Raman active. In fact, the rate of change of polarizability with the normal coordinate is very large for this kind of motion, and that is why symmetric vibrations are very intense in Raman spectroscopy. So, look at this figure. You have carbon dioxide at its normal position at Q is equal to 0. When you stretch the molecule, what happens? The molecule on the right plus Q, what happens? The molecule becomes more polarizable, and that means the polarizability ellipsoid becomes smaller, whereas when you compress the molecule, it becomes less polarizable, and so the polarizability ellipsoid becomes larger. And there is a look at the way it is changing very fast, and that is why the rate of change of polarizability is very large. Then we consider the bending mode. Only bending in plane is shown in this figure, is showing the changes in the polarizability ellipsoid of carbon dioxide during its vibrations, and we have shown the bending in plane. This molecule changes the appearance from a linear molecule to a bent one during the course of this vibration, because the bond angle is changing from 180 degrees, it becomes bent. Obviously, there is a change in polarizability of the molecule as it vibrates. Look at the bending mode. The bending mode, the molecule is bent, and that is why the polarizability decreases when it is bent, and you find that the polarizability ellipsoid increases whether it is bending up or it is bending down. And antisymmetric stretch also, here the polarizability ellipsoid decreases in size, and when it is bending in one mode or it is bending or it is stretching in another mode. But what you find is both these modes are Raman inactive, as you can see when you apply group theory. Both these vibrations have a symmetric polarizability change and are Raman inactive. We now consider the bent triatomic molecule. The variation of the polarizability ellipsoid is shown in figure that all the modes are Raman active. Look at q is equal to 0, it is bent, and when you symmetric stretch, when you stretch it, there is a change in the polarizability. The polarizability increases because you have increased the size, but its ellipsoid becomes smaller, and similarly on compression the polarizability increases in size, the ellipsoid changes in size, and the bending mode also there is a change in the polarizability, both the shape and the direction and the size changes, and here the direction changes, size also changes. So, these are the polarizability changes that occur during these three modes of vibration. We now discuss the rule of mutual exclusion. For carbon dioxide, the bending and antisymmetric modes were found to be infrared active, but the symmetric stretch was not infrared active because there was no change in the dipole moment, but this mode you have found to be Raman active. And this behavior that you found, that those modes which were infrared active were Raman inactive, and those which are Raman active are infrared inactive. This is not particular to carbon dioxide, it is common to all molecules which have a center of symmetry. Modes that are infrared active are Raman inactive and vice versa. This is a rule of mutual exclusion which states that no normal mode can be both infrared and Raman active in a molecule that possesses a center of symmetry. In fact, even for molecules which do not possess a center of symmetry, symmetric modes are weak in infrared and strong in Raman, whereas bending and anti-symmetric modes are weak in Raman. If the molecule has no center of symmetry, then some vibrations will be both Raman and IR active. Hence, if some vibrations are observed to give coincident Raman and IR absorptions, it is certain that the species has no center of symmetry. Also, all symmetric modes of centrosymmetric molecules are strong in Raman, and this helps in identifying symmetric bands. The symmetric bands can also be identified by studying their polarization. Now, this is a new term we are talking about, not polarizability, talking about polarization that you have already learnt about when we were studying the nature of radiation. So, we will talk about polarization of Raman lines. We consider a beam of light incident in the x direction. Assume that this is linearly polarized and all its electric vectors point in the y direction. Let the direction of observation of the scattered radiation be z, and this we have shown that there is a molecule, and this blue colored sphere is its polarizability ellipsoid. There is a radiation which is incident, and then we see what happens to the scattered radiation. First, we will consider a molecule such as methane, whose polarizability ellipsoid is isotropic, that means all directions are the same because it is a tetrahedral molecule and hence spherical in shape. The scattered radiation will then have the same polarization as the incident radiation, since the molecule's polarizability has no preferred direction. What happens if the molecule's polarizability ellipsoid is anisotropic? As an example, we will take CH3Cl, where we have replaced one of the CH bonds by a CCl bond, and this molecule is more polarizable along the CCl one direction, and that means it rotates the plane of polarization of the radiation along the CCl one direction. However, in a sample of gaseous chloroform molecules, the molecules are oriented with their CCl bonds in random directions, so that the scattered radiation is completely depolarized. So, we have seen when the molecule is symmetrical like methane, or its polarizability ellipsoid is spherical in shape. When the radiation falls on it, it is not able to rotate the plane of polarization of the radiation, and if it was polarized, it remains polarized. But if the molecule has a particularly preferred direction, as in the case of CH3Cl, what happens? That direction becomes preferred. So, there is more polarization along this direction, chlorine is more polarizable, and that means that the molecule succeeds in rotating the plane of the polarization of the radiation. In what direction? In the direction of CCl, but when you have a gaseous sample, the CCl bonds are in random directions. That means that the polarization will be changed in random directions. The radiation will be completely depolarized, and this is measured by a depolarization ratio, which is defined as the ratio of intensity measured perpendicular to the incident radiation and that measured parallel to it. That is measured what is the intensity in a direction perpendicular to the incident radiation and what is that measured parallel to it. And this means that a scattered beam is polarized if it is between 0 and 3 by 4. If you started with polarized radiation, then if rho, which is I perpendicular by I parallel, if it is between 0 and 3 by 4, we say that it is still polarized. When we consider vibrations of molecules, the same concept can be applied. All molecules have a symmetric stretching mode, and this is always Raman active and very intense. Thus, all molecules have at least one strong Raman mode. There is no molecule which will be Raman inactive, because at least one of its modes will be the symmetric stretch, which is always Raman active. And this cannot be said about infrared activity, because there can be a molecule which has no dipole moment, for example, a homonuclear diatomic molecule, it is infrared inactive, and homonuclear diatomic molecules do not have any infrared active mode. In the case of methane, for example, this symmetric stretching mode involves the simultaneous elongation and compression of all 4 CH bonds. The polarizability ellipsoid therefore alternately decreases and increases in size, but remains spherical in shape. For this reason, this mode is called a breathing mode. So, we are talking about the breathing mode, where the methane molecule, all the 4 CH bonds which are tetrahedrally placed, they increase the size at the same time, decrease the size at the same time, and this is called the breathing mode. And the polarizability ellipsoid therefore alternately increases and decreases in size, but remains the same shape, spherical. For this reason, this mode is called a breathing mode. Applying the same arguments as above, this mode results in polarized radiation. This is the mode we were talking about, it results in polarized radiation. On the other hand, in the asymmetric stretch mode, where one bond elongates while the others compress, and when the others are stretching, this one decreases in size, the polarizability ellipsoid now is no longer spherically symmetrical and it becomes isotropic. And what happens? The scattered radiation gets depolarized. So, we will take an example. A linear molecule has the following fundamental vibrational transitions: 370 centimeter inverse, 520 centimeter inverse, 880 centimeter inverse and 1550 centimeter inverse, and all these modes are Raman active, and the wavelength of the excitation radiation is 500 nanometer. You have to calculate the wave numbers of scattered radiation in the Stokes range. The wave number of 500 nanometer, first you have to convert it into wave number, and this you can do because nanometer is 10 raised power of minus 7 centimeter. 1 by 500 into 10 raised power of minus 7 centimeter gives you 20,000 centimeter inverse. Therefore, the Stokes lines are at 20,000 minus 370, that is 19,630 centimeter inverse. The other one will be 20,000 minus 520, 19,480 centimeter inverse, and finally 20,000 minus 1550, which will be 18,450 centimeter inverse. So, this is how you can calculate the wave numbers if you know the wave numbers of the vibrations. So, in summary, we will say that the molecular property that must change during a vibration for it to be Raman active is its polarizability. Thus, Raman spectroscopy is complementary to microwave and infrared spectroscopy, where the property that must vary is the dipole moment. There it was the dipole moment, here it is the polarizability. Anti-Stokes lines are much weaker than Stokes lines, and the rule of mutual exclusion states that no normal mode can be both infrared and Raman active for a molecule possessing a center of symmetry. And finally, the polarization of Raman lines gives information about the symmetry of a vibration.